This is the fourth video I've recorded today in the last 40 minutes. I usually don't allocate this much time to recording because, for those of you who don't know, I'm a music producer. That's what I do for 8 hours of the day. But I've just been in such a flow state since I started speaking about 40 ish, maybe 50 minutes ago by now. I haven't even really been paying attention to the clock. Actually, probably longer than that. I remember it passing noon when I was recording one of my videos. I was already 10 minutes in, but anyways, the point of this video is about the flow state and how important it is for anything. What a flow state is what people call being in the zone, where essentially you're entirely focused on what you're doing and you have no thoughts in your mind. When I make these videos, I get into a flow state because I'm only thinking about the topic I'm speaking about and how to best convey it to the listener, right? To you. So I like to use that, the power of flow in any aspect of my life. And I think that can greatly translate to health and fitness because, especially when you're working out, the more focused you are on the workout, the better you'll do it, right? Of course, if you're locked in and you've got your music blasting and you're not talking to anyone and you're just focused on you and the weight, you're a different animal. You're a different human being at that point, right? So in this video, I want to share some tips about how to better get into a flow state. So the first one, and this is going to be a common thing for the history of my entire channel from now on, but meditate, right? Meditating helps you focus more. It helps make you present. The first step zero, honestly, to getting into a flow state better is to meditate, right? It really helps you increase your focus. It helps you increase your attention span. So not only can you get into a flow state more easily, which has actually been scientifically observed, people who meditate can get into a flow state more easily because they can turn it on when they meditate, right? So they're practicing turning on that flow state. You can get into it easier and you can get into it for longer, especially if you meditate for longer times. As soon as I started meditating for an hour a day, like maybe a week later, I was instantly able to work for an extra hour on top of my usual time. It was crazy. And so I'm not saying you have to meditate for an hour a day, mind you, but if you're meditating consistently, you'll be able to get into a flow state more easily. Now, a more practical thing you can apply that can work today: eliminate distractions. If you have a task to do, say you need to do something for an hour, dedicate entire focus to something for an hour. Turn off your phone, put it in a different room, eliminate every distraction you can. Close the other tabs on your computer if you're working on your computer. Just keep what you need open. Cut down to only the essentials for your work because you need to eliminate as much distraction as possible. Don't eat while you're doing it. You can have water because that's not so enticing and you need water for your brain. But honestly, if you want to get it into a better flow state, drink your water right before you start and then don't even think about drinking water. Eliminate every single distraction you can. Now, of course, in the gym, you're not going to be not drinking water. That's unsafe. You should be drinking water, especially when you're lifting heavy to avoid muscle cramps. But while you're in the middle of the set, you're not drinking water, right? So, and that's part of the gym routine is drinking water anyway. So, but I'm just talking in general. Eliminate all distractions from whatever you're doing. So if you're in the gym, don't scroll on Instagram between sets because it might feel good and it's like, oh, but I'm resting. Rest your mind too because your mind is just as important for that next set. You'll never believe the amount of times I've cheated myself out of a new PR or another rep because I convinced myself I was tired because I lost the mental battle. I'm sure many people have experienced the same thing. Some people might not realize it, but that's what goes on. And when you're entirely present, those things don't happen. So I'm not saying I'm perfect in the gym. Sometimes I'll read a book between sets, like I have an ebook on my phone, or sometimes I will go on social media. It happens, right? I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? But this is something to keep in mind going forward. When you're in the gym, when you're doing anything, keep as much focus on it as possible. Unlock that flow state and your results will just skyrocket. Your productivity in school and work, whatever it is. Unlocking a flow state, you're working 4 times faster than you would before. And in the gym, it can be the same benefit. You could have twice as good of a workout as you would have had before if you're in a flow state. You could get that much closer to failure, and if you do that consistently, make that much more muscle on your next bulk. Or if you're in a flow state, say when you're at a social event and there's junk food, you're so focused on the event itself and talking to people and laughing with your friends and having fun or being with your family or whatever, you're not even worried about the junk food. You're in such a flow that you don't need to go and have the junk food. I'm in such a flow for this video, I didn't even realize that I grabbed this glass of water until 5 seconds after. You know? I didn't even do that intentionally. That's the first time I've drank water in a video, so it might seem like a gimmick, but I always have a glass of water just off camera, but I was so focused on this video, I didn't even see my hand. I didn't even feel my hand reaching for the glass. I just did it, right? So it's a topic I'm passionate about. There's books on it that I should read that I haven't. I am admittedly not very knowledgeable on it, but I know how to get into it. Improve your mental health through meditation. Presence is the biggest thing for getting into a flow state. When you're more present 24/7, getting into a flow state is almost like accidental. It just kind of happens. It's like, oops, it's like stubbing your toe, right? But it's a good thing. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't hurt like stubbing your toe. Do that. Eliminate as many distractions as you can from your life. And also just intentionally practice it. Tell yourself, for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be in a flow state and I'm going to focus entirely on this task. And that in itself is like a kind of meditation, because when you're doing something, when you're in the gym and you feel, oh, I'm pulling out my phone to go on Instagram, you realize, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm in a flow state. Then you turn it off. That in itself is like meditation, because your anchor point is right now. It's the present, right? With meditation, your anchor point will be breathing, but with something like, being in a flow state, your ankle point. I keep saying ankle point. Anchor point will be the present moment, will be what you're doing. And so you get the double whammy of not only feeling good while you're in the flow state, but being able to be satisfied once it's done. Of like, yeah, I just did that. And you get that extra little boost to your mental health. So that's another little tip I wanted to share with you. It's something I've kept in my mental toolbox for the last few years, just getting into a flow state as often as possible. And in every facet of life, it's just netted me amazing results. So I hope you can use it the same way as me. Hope you can use it more effectively than me, honestly. If you've read books on this, like there's a book called Flow. It's about flow states. I think there's one called The Zone. Probably, but it might not be that good. It might not be what I'm thinking about, but I think there's a few books floating around on this topic that are, people have read and recommended to me. I haven't looked into them, to be very honest with you. I will. It's my intention. But if you have, please come to my DMs. Please shoot me a message and tell me, give me a TLDR of these books, because I'd like to learn more about it very quickly, right? Love to speak to someone who's more experienced in getting into flow states. And even if you're not so experienced, maybe you're on the other end, you don't know anything about it. If you have any more specific questions for me about your specific situation, I'll do my best to answer them. But shoot me a message. I don't bite. Love to talk to everyone. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you can use flow in your life now to see some benefits.